but I'm going to tell you why we like to be first. Our success has really come by building relationships with the people that we go to list their homes. So oftentimes that begins with the phone conversation when someone either calls us to ask about listing their home or we're given a referral. We're going to spend a lot of time on the phone talking to them about their home. I want to know, how many bedrooms, how many baths. I'm not going to rely just on what I see on an old MLS listing or on a public website. So we're going to start building that relationship on the phone. Once we get there, we also have what we call a seller fact and feature sheet that I often email to them before we get to the listing appointment. And it asks them everything from all the ages of their appliances to their utilities to what do they like best about their home, why did they buy their home. So once we get to the listing appointment, our first goal is to engage them in conversation, meet their kids, start talking to them about their kids, our grandkids, whatever it takes to build a relationship with them. Then we're going to ask them to take us through their home and actually go through all those different things. Take us room by room, talk to us about your home, tell us what you've done to your home, tell us why you loved your home, why you're selling your home, and then we finally sit down with them. But I want to be the first one in the door to build that relationship. And if we've done our job well, then all the data that we bring is just secondary. And I want them to hear from us all the data, all the information, because then everybody's got to come in and beat me. I don't want to be second or third if we're competing, because they've already heard a market value, they've already heard what the market's doing, and so they're very dismissive of anything else I have to say, and all they want to know is what's your commission and what are you going to sell my house for. So being first one in the door, I've got the opportunity to build that relationship and to give them all the information, and then everybody after us has to beat us.
All right, next question's for Jeff here. Do you like a one-step or two-step listing appointment?
I kind of like any listing appointment that gets me the listing. But you got to be prepared on both cases, whether you can do a one-step or a two-step. With the one-step, obviously, the client wants to just see you once and get all the information he can from you, or she can. So you back up and you take a look at all the information you have about the property you're going to see. I do it a little different than Jody and Alice. We put all our eggs in one basket, and that basket is when we sit in front of those people and talk to them. And we kind of go through the one step saying, hey, look, this is what's happening in your community. This is what things are going for around here, but we haven't seen your house yet, so we don't want to make a prejudgment. And then we go from there. I prefer the two-step. I prefer to get the preliminary information, meet the people, meet the family, talk to them, set up a rapport, then come back later and give them a formal CMA. But you have to adjust that based on what you're faced with at the house at that time. My partner Lisa likes a one-step. So you've got to be prepared in either one on the one-step or two-step, and always carry a listing packet with you so that you can close whenever you have to close.
I'm going to ask you one more question, Jeff, because we were talking about this before. You do the listing presentation book, and you brought it with you,
Yeah.
and I'd kind of like you to share that, and if we could, we're kind of jumping ahead on the questions, but I'd like for you to share that up front, and then maybe we can pass it around. Is that okay?
You're going to see some nasty stuff in that case. Yeah,
No.
that'll be fine. When I started out in business. I actually taught for a long time, and I was in business administration. I have a Bachelor of Science in Business. And one of the courses I taught and was taught to me was salesmanship. And the biggest thing about salesmanship is you don't want to be rote, but you do want to have a structure. So I use the listing book to make sure I'm staying on track, following a sequential order of presentation, and to get to a conclusion at the end. While I'm going through the book formally, Lisa is interjecting on her part from the other side. Now, if you don't know Lisa, Lisa's the personality of the two.
Absolutely. Listen, what you guys are seeing here, you're seeing salty. We have sweet and salty in the office.
Good cop, bad cop, whatever.
I call it sweet and salty, it's nicer.
She's actually out with clients right now who flew in from out of town, so that's why she's not here. So anyway, that's the listing book. I tuned it up, and I kind of followed what I learned from basic salesmanship. I did do door-to-door selling. Believe it or not, there were such things as called the Encyclopedia Britannica. There were cookware sets that were sold door-to-door. But you had a presentation to be followed. Don't do it by rote. You have to take a guideline that you have in front of you, but you've got to make it fit your personality. You're selling yourself. It's just like selling a product. What are the features? And what do those features mean to you? You're selling yourself. So I can't stress enough, if you come across in a rote system, you're not going to come across as who you are. And you need to come across, you need to be who you are the way you get about it. Now, I joke a lot occasionally, but that's me. So I don't try and hide that unless I really have to. But just be yourself. So the listing presentation book.
Is it okay for me to pass it
Yeah,
around?
let me just kind of, it's thick, but I don't go through the whole thing. And it's not the only thing I bring with me. Right now, this is loaded with, hold on a second. Right now, it's loaded with stuff from Cloud CMA. And I have everything in there from Cloud CMA, whether it be buyer, seller, short sale, whatever the case may be, but I won't go over everything in there. I also print out a separate packet from Cloud CMA, and we have it out two ways. The first one is just a basic listing presentation without the property, telling about who Russell is, who we are, and what we can do for you. And then I have a separate one which is going to have the property, so I have two different packages. Kind of lighten it up. I always say I'm not going to go through this whole thing lock, stock, and barrel. It's just a guide. You can look at the pretty pictures. It keeps me online. But I'm going to give you the packet. I expect you to read, and I'll test you in the morning to see if you've done it. Again, just my way of coming across. But anyway, what's in here, I go over who Russell is, what Russell has done. I go over the profiles, in this case, of what a home seller is. I go over marketing action plans. We go over, talk about briefly what a CMA is and what to expect from a CMA. And on the back end, I talk about what Lisa and I have done and what we are. We're members of NAR, we're members of OAR, we're members of our local board. We're involved with our local board exclusively. We've belonged to the mobile listing service, the biggest mobile listing service in this area of Ohio. And we have gotten certain rewards. And at the very end of it, you kind of tail off and say, this is why you should hire us to represent you. So with that, you can pass around.
Thank you.
Did I go too far?
No, you're great.
I just want to touch on that real quick. I'm sorry, Jeff. Be confident when you go on your listing appointment, and be yourself.
As you can see, Jeff does not lack confidence.
The good cop, bad cop is kind of a thing that works for Chris and I. Of course, he's the good cop, and I get to be the bad cop. But for, like Jeff said, when you go there, you want to be, you want to be down to earth. You want to be yourself. Their sellers can sense that if you're,
Making up?
Yeah, exactly. If you're not being yourself, they can sense you're kind of more or less like a robot. So.
Did
So
you
all starts with a
Yeah,
relationship.
did you guys go to that session when your personality traits, was it 2 weeks ago? We don't have to worry about trying to play up to a personality trait, because I'm on one end of the scale and Lisa's on the other end. So if I can't win them on one side, she'll let them on the other side.
And that's true.
All right, next question for Chris. How do you obtain listings?
So our listings are probably different than 99% of the companies. Most to all of our inventory is from foreclosures and flips that we help our investors find. I go about it anyway between auctions, direct mailer campaigns to people who fit a certain algorithm for a system that we pay for. And it's just to try to get the purchase of the property, and we get both sides of the deal. So currently we have anywhere between like 1.2 and 1.7 million in listings coming that our contractors are currently working on. And so mainly what I do is look at oddities in certain areas and looking for where we can find, that we can turn the right rock over to find it for someone who can purchase. So and Tim does a lot of research for short sales. We kind of changed a lot of what we do about 6 months ago, and how we focus and pinpoint certain things. And Tim goes on the Cuyahoga County Auditor's website, and we only look for short sales above 200,000 essentially. So what we do in that point is looking for someone who's falling behind with water on their house, or there's still equity in the home and they're going backwards, and we race to get those people to the market before they're actually backwards on their house. So they think they've already lost their home to foreclosure. And we're able to come in as heroes, put money in their pocket, and then they walk out of the house cleanly. And so it's something that makes us happy on one end, and it's something that saves somebody from a foreclosure in Cleveland, Ohio. So there's a lot of different ways to do things. A lot of people have the interview process, 1-step, 2-step that they do. But if you ever want to be bored talking about investing sometime, feel free to give me a call. Talk about it all day.
Chris has a relationship with wholesalers too, because again, going back to our first point, there's not enough inventory in the market right now. So Chris has contacts with the wholesalers, and he's able to get some properties that are off market that most of us don't see. Chris was referring to the Cuyahoga County Clerk of Courts. I came in the business in 2007. The roller coaster was about right here, about ready to drop. So for me, the glass has always been half full. We came in at a tough time, and so we were able to make a business and build a business from that point. So I do kind of an out-of-box mentality looking at listings. I mean, of course, there's your for sale by owners, there's your expireds, and so on and so forth. But Chris and I, we brainstormed and we sat, and, we take a lot of time in the manager's meeting room. We get kicked out of there every now and then, but we set up and we started to think outside of the box a little bit. So what he's referring to is we started going on the Cuyahoga County Clerk of Courts in some of the markets that are very, that are hot right now. And we started looking at different properties, and we would actually run an analysis on them to see, okay, I know how to. Prior to me being in real estate, I used to work for law firms, and unfortunately we used to prep accounts to sue folks and whatnot. So I would know how to read different dockets, and so I know how to go on, read the dockets. I know how to figure out if there's an equity position in the home or not. And so that's kind of the out-of-box mentality. We look at it if there's a position there that we can save these folks. And we even do, like you said, we'll do pre-foreclosures and short sales. I mean, I know most realtors run as fast as they can from short sales, but we've probably got about 140 or 150 under our belt over about 8 years, so we're still able to work those. But we do that out-of-box mentality because not a lot of agents are doing that or even thinking of that. There's a few extra steps to get involved and to do it, but it works, and we've been able to really help some folks. So.
Awesome, thank you. Next question here is for Jody and Ellis. So do you review the home with the seller to provide suggested repairs, updates, or any staging?
Jeff, can you pass that mic out? Thanks.
So we do. I want to piggyback a little bit on the book that Jeff is sharing with you there. We not only do a book, but we also bring an iPad because we have found that in today's world, there's several different types of learners when it comes to real estate. There's the ones that need to see it in print, and then there's the ones that need to see it a little more visually. So we use our iPad, we use a book very much like Jeff and Lisa do, that we can leave with them. But we also bring our iPad or our computer to, when we start discussing the comparables, we're actually bringing them up and showing them the pictures. We're showing them what their competition is and what's sold, because every seller thinks their house is like the best house and they have the best kitchen. And I can show them, well, here's a listing that sold for this price and their kitchen beats yours, sorry. So that visual helps a lot. That also goes hand in hand with us reviewing the house. I kind of talked about that before. I'm going to Ellis talk a little bit about that, but we do offer for them suggestions on repairs, so I'm going to let Ellis explain how he does that. You'll find that I'm the paperwork numbers person, and Ellis is the crawl through your house, play with your kids, build a relationship, laughter person in our team here. But additionally, we also work when Megan or Hunter come to take our photographs. We help them stage their home. We'll be readily, and we tell them this, we will pull boxes out of them, we'll take furniture out. We're there at those photography sessions because we have found that no seller has their home as good as they are. Nobody has them as good as what we can make them in helping them get it staged and ready to go.
She gave me the mic. Wow, I've been blessed.
And you can see there a little bit of the sweet and sour as well. I love you.
I negotiate with a thumb. Anyway, those of you in self-defense will know what the thumb is for. I am the child whisperer. I am the pet whisperer. I am the person that will crawl through your house to get you a better deal. I'm the person that will crawl through your house to show you what you have to do to get a better price for your house. I do not pull punches. I don't care if I just met you or if I've known you for 30 years.
I'm sure you all find that hard to believe.
Believe it or not, I speak my mind. Actually, I'm holding back right now. No, as Jody said, she does the paperwork. As a sergeant in the United States Army, I hated paperwork. That's why I had a clerk. I don't do it. But again, I am the grunt. I will do the physical stuff. I love my job. I love working with people, but I love their kids and their dogs even better.
Thank you very much. Hey, Jeff, question for you. So, just to go a little bit more detail with this, why do you think you work better as a team on listing appointments?
Sweet and sour.
Besides the sweet and sour.
That's kind of hard to say, but the proof is in the pudding. So if we look at our business comes 64% of it is referral business, period. Now that may be buying and maybe selling, but it's all referral. We don't necessarily have to prospect that much, I hate to say that. But how do we work as a team? Lisa has a natural empathy for people and people's feelings. And it comes across honestly, and they believe in her and they trust her. And I'm on the other side of it. I back her up. I do a lot of the paperwork and the research and the promotional and that side of it. So I don't know if I can answer your question real well as to how we work as a team better, but that's the way it seems to go. And if we have a highly analytical person on the other side, guess who takes charge? I do. It's just the way it works. It's not that we decided that way, but it's just the way that the conversation flows. And it goes back again to what Alice said just now. You got to be who you are. You can't fake it. You can't. And I believe that honestly.
All right, thank you. Hey, Chris, would you mind elaborating on that a little bit more?
What's the last part?
Just as far, what's the benefit of sitting on a listing appointment as a team?
We didn't ask that question to you guys before this, so I'm kind of putting them on the spot, but I know that they go a little bit differently. Both of these guys have a little bit of that sweet and sour, going on, and you guys don't.
No, we actually do. He's very sweet, I'm sorry.
Oh, I find that hard to believe.
No, I mean, it works well. I mean, it's from anything from someone who's a little more tempered back and doesn't talk very much and slow going. It's much easier for me when you have someone who's high paced, talking really fast, drinks a lot of coffee. Tim can naturally keep up with that. So either way, it's kind of like a give and take that we're able to, have compatible emotions and mentalities with people, because Tim and I are the same but opposites all at the same time. So.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So one more question for you guys, well, more than one, but.
You have a question back there.
Oh, you?
We're gonna hold questions at the end, right?
Yeah, we're gonna do questions at the end, sorry.
Okay. No, that's okay. We just wanna make sure that we get through all their questions first.
So what marketing ideas do you do to get listings sold?
Okay. So when I said 6 months ago, we took a different mentality and started doing things a little different. What we first did actually was 9 months before that is we sat down with like Adam and Matt. And what we did was, you know, we wanted to talk to people who were the best in our company. We wanted to talk to people who were the best in other companies. I mean, Tim and I probably took about 40 to 60 hours out of, you know, a 2-month time going to meet with other people and speak with them. And, you know, the biggest thing obviously that everybody's doing is Facebook, social media, and Zillow. And that's pretty much how we've been positioning ourselves to sell a lot of listings and get a lot of leads off our listings right now. And what we've been doing with new listings has been listing on Thursdays, not allowing showings till Sunday. I make a Facebook ad come Friday, and I go and I narrow it down and target particular markets in different areas between Lakewood, Ohio City, anywhere we get it. And then we're able to create kind of like a competition atmosphere type at an open house that Sunday. So we don't let anyone go until one of us are holding the open house, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, whatever we do. And honestly, we've been turning, you know, I've done open houses since I started in the business, and I think we've all sat there with 0 people come through, and we're actually able to create those 30 to 70 people that you think are a joke when you read a book or you know, an article online about how people are capable of doing that. And we're pretty much able to do it by stopping people from going in before, and we want them all to see each other. You know, when you're all looking at each other trying to buy a house, it's like, I don't want that guy over there to go buy this house, it's my house, you know? And everyone's eyeing each other up, and it sounds so silly, but it's actually really true to get people in the same room, creating that atmosphere for buyers, because not only is, it's not the agent telling you that there's another buyer interested party looking at the house. They're there and there's 20 people walking through the home. So they know it's selling, and it's able to create the mentality inside the house.
So along those lines, are you getting more listings that way? Because like the people that are there and all the energy that you're creating at the open houses, are you seeing that turn into listings?
I wouldn't say we've been doing it long enough to see the effect. Like we've had people, like we sold a house on Theora in Brunswick, and the neighbor reached out to Tim on Facebook because we sold it so fast, everything that happened. I wouldn't say we've had an abundance of those situations, but I would have to say probably over time it's going to have that effect. We've just only started our new process probably as of like 6 months ago. So, you know, sitting down and focusing and pinpointing your own weaknesses and talking to people who are already doing it right. I mean, it took us 6 months to probably be able, we're 3 months in the year and beat what we did last year together, pretty much. So to be able to use all these things to leverage, you know, it takes time, but not that much time to be able to put it together if you're able to, so.
Thank you. Hey, this question for Jody and Ellis. So just to go a little bit more in detail with staging, and maybe like talk a little bit about, you know, do you do professional photography for your listings as far as just making them look pretty?
Yes, so we do use professional photography. We've been with Megan, I think, since she started, just about. And then Hunter's been coming alongside. It's huge difference that they make. We also do a lot of their drone photography if the property would benefit from that, if you've got enough land for it too. As far as the staging, I kind of touched on that. Again, we're there when they take the photographs, we move things around. I've taken bath towels out of bathrooms. I sometimes feel like I need a bath or a shower after I leave, but it actually makes a huge difference, and we've sold a lot of junk just by having good photographs where it wouldn't have sold otherwise, so that's really important.
And that's why I wanted to piggyback on this with Jeff, because I know you guys are really big at this too. So if you could kind of answer that. And Tim, do you and Chris both use professional photographers? So can you answer after he does and the importance?
The real difference is when I used to take photography ourselves, and they had a 28mm lens, and you really can't get a scope of a smaller room with a 28mm lens. I believe that the Megan Hunter have a 14 which is probably a step above a fisheye, and fisheyes just don't look good. But the 14 can get the whole scope of that room. They do a great job. We work with them explicitly, moving stuff, and both of them help us move the stuff around and move it back afterwards. We've made homes look like they're sparkling, shining examples, and they're absolutely not. And the professional photography works real well. Like Jody said, we've used drone photography. That's going to be mostly for country properties. And we've used drone clips because of country properties where we have something like 500-600 feet off the road and it's a winding road. So we kind of follow the Beatles in that long and winding road with a drone.
And do you play this up, and I know you do. I mean, I'm asking this question.
You mean
I know
your
you
listing
guys-
presentation?
Yes, this is a big
Well-
part of your listing presentation, is putting that out there that you're gonna provide this.
We kind of do things differently with listing presentations and getting listings. I say that all the time. These guys work their asses off. It sounds like it to me. I hate to say that, but we don't. We get the job done. We get it done well. And we get the reviews afterwards that show we get it done well. Lisa started in 2010, I started in 2002. Before that I was in retail for 35 years. Before that I taught salesmanship and marketing. Bottom line is you can't invent the wheel is the wheel. You kind of make it look pretty, you can kind of improvise on the wheel, but the wheel is the wheel, and that's why I use a listing book. You just follow the basics over time that have proven to give success to whatever it is you're marketing and or selling. So take what you're being taught in the training classes, in the mentoring classes, wherever you go, understand that that's a fundamental, but put your own spin on it. I can't emphasize enough, you've got to be who you are in that listing presentation. With the open houses, we do get listings from open houses. People come in, they see how we do our open house. We are not aggressive in any way, shape, or form. We're appreciative of them coming in, and we give them a guided tour. We try and pay as much attention to them as possible. We very rarely have trouble getting names and phone numbers and addresses. And we follow up after that open house, and we get the listings, because you don't know who's coming in. You don't know if they're looking to buy or sell, and sometimes they won't tell you. So you're going to be up front all the time, and that's another easy way to get a listing.
All right, one more question for Chris and Tim. What do you do with stale listings, with price reduction, so on and so forth?
So I have I have the perfect example for that right now that we're working on. We have a botched flip right now that's for sale on West 57th. The contractor did a bad job, just is what it is. So we ascertain feedback whether people want to give it to us or not, especially when we have a sale listing. Like, you got to find out the information. Why is this house not selling? I know where houses should be priced. So what's holding it back? So the biggest problem in this house is that the drywall was horribly done. So I went and checked on it on Friday. We had brought a crew out and the mud is drying. And so once the mud dries by Friday and all the drywall's repainted, we'll lower the price before the weekend. Not a big deal or anything, but the basic feedback leads to your end resolution. You know, if it's a tiny backyard, well, I'm sorry, there's not much you're gonna be able to do besides lower the price. You can't make more land. But when it's cosmetics and things people are seeing, like our drywall being bad, the next thought in someone's head is, well, if the drywall looks this bad, what's behind the walls? So we're able to get ahead of that now. You know, so we'll be able to see that if lowering the price, changing the drywall, and the point of lowering the price is to get the new slew of people to come through the house. Once we've made these fixes everybody else has complained about, and we can inform people that we've done it too, that have gone through using CSS.
So you make the change, you address the feedback, you make the change, and then you have an open house immediately after that, or
Yeah,
price
I
reduction?
mean, we won't have an open house for this one when we do the reduction, but I am going to inform everybody who's had a showing on the property that we have fixed this problem, and then we'll just lower the price And, you know, that way people are informed who have gone through the change that has happened with the price reflection. And then also it'll bring out a new crew of people who probably haven't seen the house in that price range yet.
And then you guys had talked about the professional pictures as well, and I think if I remember correctly, you guys, there's not like a price point. Like, you don't really care the price point, like you take professional pictures.
Yeah.
On everything. And I think that's kind of important to point out that you guys do that, because some people think if it's under 100,000, I'm not doing it, that type of thing.
No, we want our listings to look, you know, it doesn't matter if it's 50,000, 500,000, we want our listings to always look professional. I mean, sometimes we'll even refresh the listing with new pictures if we think that that would be better. We'll also review the marketing strategy, what can we do? We sit down quite a bit and we will go over these things. If we have a stale, non-moving listing, what we can do to change it. A lot of times it may just be a different marketing strategy. As Chris has told you, we do work with a lot of investors that do that rehab, and so if there's things that we have to go, we have to. He's out in the field all the time. Chris is the guy that will go through the property. He'll make visits and whatnot. But yeah, all our listings, we're always using professional photography.
The one thing about using a professional photographer on a lower price listing, that's how you're gonna get bigger ticket listings. If you're putting the emphasis on any listing you have, people somewhere along the line are gonna notice it. And again, when I say we don't do things, we don't hold our listings off. We work for our seller. We work for our buyer or seller, in this case, the seller, the client. They want that listing on, they want it sold quickly. We put it on. We're not looking for two sides. We're not looking for any. We're looking to sell that property for that client for the best price we can get in the shortest term. Don't chase the money. Don't chase the commission. Chase the customer service. Chase what your client wants, and you'll get the money in the end.
But sometimes by doing that, by holding off, you actually are pushing the price up, which is better for the seller. So I think you guys have to judge your market and your marketplace.
The other thing, I hate to say this, we're not on social media. We're not on social media.
This.
This is what works for us, guys.
But I do have, he and I reviewed this before he said this. They're not on social media, but Russell is for them. So they're getting the leads from the Facebook boost that Russell's providing for them. So they don't have to do it, we're doing it for them.
Thank you, Russell.
All right, we're gonna, do you wanna?
Well, I just, to what Tammy was talking about, we are on social media, and I have to say, that's a great venue where we're getting all of our new business. So that's the only advertising we pay for. We do a lot of Facebook advertising, so it does work.
And this is good to point this out, like you're getting like 3 different point of views here, and that's kind of why we pick them, because they do things slightly different. Everybody doesn't do everything exactly the
Like
same.
Jeff said, if it works for you, that's what you do.
Do
Yeah,
it,
you can't
exactly.
if I'm getting 65% from referral business,
You're perfect.
I don't have to work that hard.
Yep, yep.
All right, we're gonna open up the last 10 minutes or so for questions. So,
Can you pick up the person over there, Kim? She had a question. Kim, you had a question first.
My question goes to the teams. I am also part of a team. I'm a newer agent. I'm part of the Coughlin team out of the Amherst office. And I guess I wanted to find out, like, when you're doing a team listing appointment, do you feel that the sellers are seeing that they're getting 2 agents for the price of one? Or do you get the feel like it's too intimidating or a lot to take on with 2 agents there? I just wanted your feedback on that.
One of the bottom lines, we have a tagline on everything we do: 1 call, twice the service. And we sell that, and we sell the fact that, hey, as of right now, if one of us can't be somewhere, the other one can. That's a plus how we sell it. Now, you know, we use the word teams. Really, we're actually partners, not teams. So, you know, if you're in a team where you have one person getting all the credit, that's a true team called an NAR. We are teams, but we're more partnerships than teams. And we split everything, including the aggravation.
I have a question about when you list on Thursday and then you have the open house and you don't have any showings. How do you present that to sellers? And also, are there any MLS rules about having to put it in a held status if you're refusing?
So essentially, there's a 72-hour rule that I know of.
Yes.
So if I'm breaking the law, someone let me know.
No.
But there's a 72-hour rule that if someone complained that they could not get into the home with multiple tries in 72 hours, then the house has to be TOMK'd according to normal's rules.
Correct.
So that's why we do it's either Thursday or Friday. It really depends, either day doesn't really matter to me. Thursday is just the farthest day out that we are capable of doing it without that rule coming
And
into
this is with the
effect.
seller's permission, obviously.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything
And,
without.
and so, with the mentality of, flips, they just unfortunately have to listen to me. Because it's just a relationship we've developed over 3 to 4 years, and it's kind of, that's trust, and it just is what it is, With other people, I kind of explain the same exact thing that I said to you guys, and it's just honesty that I believe that creating a competition atmosphere and bringing everybody through at once behooves you. And to follow up on it is, if we have the first singular person who sees your house come out in the MLS in the first 5 seconds it comes, and they come and give us a $5,000 below asking price offer or asking price offer, and give us 12 hours to give them an answer, how am I helping you? Unless your goal is to sell it the fastest possible for the least amount of money, I'll do that. I'll definitely do that. It'll be real easy. You want to help the seller. You're directly doing something to create a higher value for them. So to be able to do that, you're doing them a favor. And sometimes if someone can't see something like that, to me, maybe you don't work well together. But I've had times where I don't do it because they're dead set against it.
Jeff, to piggyback, you got 72 hours from the active date. So you can play with that activation date in your listing contract.
Right, we have, in our contracts, the point blank says effective date. So you can list a house on Wednesday, the effective date not be till Friday. Everything's put in, including all of your professional pictures, your secretary, or if you have administrative privileges, you make it active on Friday. And then all of you tell everybody you're having an open house on Sunday and everybody's coming through for the seller's convenience. You're allowed to do that. In fact, a lot of agents are doing it that way.
I've got some more questions.
Yep, and we've only got 5 minutes, so we want to buzz through these
I see
questions.
you going on your listing presentation, you think you've done a nice job. You're not sure if you got the listing or not, but you know the seller's not ready. Okay, they need more time to prepare their house. You've given them suggestions or whatever. How soon do you follow up after that first meeting, and then how are you following up until you get that listing? Are there tools that you're using to stay in touch?
There's
Who was that to? Any particular?
There's one tool in CMA, and it's in that book. The last page on the presentation is a thank you letter. You don't have to give the thank you letter the day you're there. You can mail it afterwards. So you play that by ear. If you got the listing and you don't need to mail it afterwards. But if you're in competition with 1 or 2 or 3 other agents, then send that letter, that thank you letter, quickly. Send a thank you email if you can. There's lots of other ways of politely following up without being overly aggressive and turning people off about what you do. So polite, persistent follow-up will work.
Okay, we've got a question back here.
With the open houses, is there a better day that works, like a Saturday or a Sunday, and then like time frames, what works better?
We've actually seen 2 differences. We do a lot in Ohio City, Lakewood, Gordon Square, and a lot of millennials like to be hungover on Sunday. So we have found it's actually better in these particular areas though to have them on Saturdays versus a Sunday. You know, it actually is to your audience. So when we are there, like Sunday's the brunching day for a lot of people. You know, no one wants
church.
Yeah, or church.
The good
But-
people, they go to church, right?
But it affects a lot of people, and you know, when you have people living a certain lifestyle, like trying to live around a lot of bars, that's essentially what happens. So, you know, we have to make ourselves accustomed to that, and it doesn't matter what we think or what we believe in. Just like when we tell people to take, you know, crosses down from a listing and everything, it's nothing against it. It's, you know, you're going to the mentality of everybody who's coming to you, and you need to understand who they are and what they do.
Does anybody want to add anything to that?
Which bars do you go to?
What
Also-
time? What time do you find best or don't? Is there
Uh,
Time.
The time is more like anywhere between like 1 and 4, 12 to 2, 1 and 3. Realistically, we have to make that to our own schedules too, because they're not always open, so.
Is this working? Can you hear me back there?
Oh, yeah.
As far as open houses go, Lisa has a 14-year-old daughter that's heavily into sports, so she likes to spend time with her daughter. Sundays tend to be a great day for showing houses, for going out with buyers, so do Saturdays. We don't do a lot of open houses, but we have new agents that will hold the open houses for us, and we're not unhappy to have those done as much as possible.
Okay, we've got one more. Oh.
Can I just say something?
Sure.
So a lot of the sellers that we have don't want open houses. And so I wanted to address that fact too. We're perfectly fine with that. We do very few open houses and do 60% of our business in listing sales. So I don't want you to walk away thinking that you've got to go to that extreme. If you've got a seller of a house who says, I don't want 20, 30 people through my house on Sunday, you don't need to hold an open house. You can do it through marketing. We get multiple offers within days and sell over list price all the time without doing open houses.
Very good. We have one more question here.
I do have a question. I do have a question back to that 72-hour rule because of the coming soon option. Is that one tool that could be used, or do you still recommend using that 72
Yeah, I mean,
hour?
it definitely can be. I actually have been meaning to look into coming soon, and I just haven't really taken the time to do it at all, so, yeah.
We've done the coming soon, and we kind of dropped it. We'd rather just kind of push the active date further down the road. Number one, it gives us time to schedule the photographers. And number two, you can work it into the end of the week. And so if you have it active on a Thursday or Friday, you don't have to do anything and put it in until the Monday, and you get your sign in the yard for 3 or 4 days. You might work it out that way. But it's going to be up to what your client wants to do. Again, it's going to be what they want, and you're going to follow their wishes, giving them the information they need to make an intelligent decision.
And I do want to say one more thing too. A couple of people have said this is like about how do you tie this into the listing presentation. Everything that they're talking about here, they're pointing it out during the listing presentation. This is part of what they're going to do to help get the house sold.
We try and answer the objections before they come.
Yeah, and I just want to say one thing about if you're going to have a time frame between when you're going to make the house live and listed, get it in writing, get the listing. Don't just have that conversation and then they'll say, well, we don't want to list it until next week.
Use the effective date.
And we'll do the photographs then. No, do the paperwork, because somebody can come in after you and offer them something else, or they'll talk to their friend and say, well, did you talk to Sally Brown at XYZ? And all of a sudden you lost the listing. So get it in writing.
Yep. We have one more question. And this is the last question.
I love your listing book, it's fantastic. I just had a question, where do you where did you get a lot of those papers? It looked like a lot of them were Russell papers.
The
but-
Cloud CMA.
Cloud CMA.
It's all Cloud CMA.
Yeah,
and
and everything I tacked on the end was things about us.
Okay.
So, and you work up to a crescendo.
Yeah, I mean, they use our tools exclusively. The only thing that Jeff does differently, and Lee, and Jody and Ellis, they have their own personal stuff that they've added to it, that they've accumulated over the years, and I'm thinking that
We do the same thing.
you guys have
We
the
use the
same.
Cloud CMA.
So they use Cloud CMA, which is a tool that's provided for you guys for free, and then they add some additional statistics,
Talk about
stuff about what they do differently with that. So we're done. This has been a great panel. Thank you guys very, very much. And a great crowd, a lot of questions. So on to the next one. Gather up your stuff if you're not.